Belief rearranges reality. Change what you hold inside, and the world will obediently follow. We tend to think of belief as something passive, a statement, a creed, a set of opinions we wear like clothes. But belief is better understood as an environment. It is a field that conditions what you perceive, what you value, and what you will act to procure. If the field is dense with scarcity, the horizon narrows. If the field is suffused with possibility, avenues that were invisible become roads. This is not mystical, it is phenomenological. The mind selects. Attention is the gatekeeper. What you believe structures the flow of data through that gate. Consider two people standing before the same closed door. One believes opportunity is scarce, and that door is close on those who demand too much. She notices the roughness of the frame, the cost of a lock, the risk of rejection. Her options shrink. The other believes that doors are thresholds inviting the prepared. He notices the hinge, the weathering pattern, the handle's worn side as an opportunity to glean how others entered. His options expand. The difference is not mere optimism. It is the prefiguration of the moves they will attempt. Belief prefigures perception, perception prefigures action, action produces consequence, consequence then feeds back into belief in a reinforcing loop. This loop has both liberating and imprisoning potential. A limiting belief becomes a grammar that writes reality into confinement. I am not visible becomes an interpretive rule. One filters out invitations, shrugs off compliments, and thereby remains unseen. Conversely, a capacious belief invites not only attention but action. The person begins to move toward the hints and textures she would have ignored under a constricted field. Over time, the environment rearranges itself to mirror the orientation of attention. This is the practical magic of belief. It is not that the universe changes its laws, it is that your interface with those laws changes. You perceive different affordances, and you act on them. There is a humble method to working with this field. First, notice the stories that govern your gaze. For a week, record the immediate interpretations you give to ordinary events. Did the text go unanswered because the person is aloof, or because they were busy? Did a failure mean, I am incompetent, or I misapplied a strategy? The goal is not to devalue feeling. It is to map the grammatical rules your mind uses. Once mapped, test them with small experiments. If scarcity seems dominant, practice a modest generosity and observe outcomes. If social rejection looms large, ask a small, honest question and note the response. Evidence destabilizes fossilized rules. Second, practice attentional redirection. Belief is sustained by repeated confirmation. Intentionally look for disconfirming data. If you assume incompetence, catalog 3 micro successes each day. If you expect hostility, notice moments of neutral or friendly expression you would normally disregard. Habitually redirecting attention is like retraining a muscle. It changes the contours of the field slowly but surely. Third, cultivate a meta position, the capacity to hold belief as provisional. The person who mistakes belief for fact becomes brittle. The person who can say, "This is my current map," remains nimble. Provisionality does not mean doubt as paralysis. It means the willingness to entertain alternate maps and to update when sufficient evidence compels it. Fourth, recognize the social ecology of belief. We are not islands. Our fields are threaded together via relationships, narratives, and media. Be mindful of the streams you cup with your hands. Some environments will reinforce narrow maps because they feed on fear or scarcity. Curate inputs that expand possibility. Books, mentors, peers whose gaze guesses differently. Lastly, respect the time it takes. The field of possibility is remodeled through habit. A week will not rewrite decades, but persistent, disciplined attention is inexorable. Belief is not changed by argument, it is remapped via experience. The method is patient map, test, redirect, and inhabit a new field until the old grammar quiets. Belief is therefore not a mere mental ornament, It is the operating system through which your life boots. If you wish your world to be different, begin by tending that field. Attend to the rules you live by, and design experiments that gradually produce a new ecology of attention. In doing so, you will find that what looked like destiny was in many cases only a habit of mind, and habits can be reconfigured. The moment you alter the inner field, the visible horizon reconfigures. You will not force miracles. You will create conditions in which new possibilities become plain. Belief alone, stated as a wish, is insufficient. The brain is not persuaded by slogans, it is reworked by repetition. Neural pathways are grown like paths through a field. The more you walk, the clearer and easier the path becomes. The alchemy of transformation is practical, frequent. Emotionally charged repetition converts thought into embodied habit. Embodied habit then channels action so reliably that it feels like fate. In short, if you wish to live differently, you must repeatedly behave as if your belief is already true until your nervous system concurs. This process begins small. The grandiosity of "I will become successful" is less operative than the micro behaviors that embody success, the discipline of waking early, the refusal to check social distraction in the first hour, the habit of one deliberate learning session per day. Each micro act as an incision in the old neural pathways and a deposit in the new. The emotional charge is crucial. The brain tags events with significance. Calm repetition without feeling is slower. Link the habit to a felt meaning. This is not mere discomfort, this is training. The emotion functions as glue. Design deliberate practice. Here are key elements: narrow your focus, choose one small practice. Set a measurable unit: 10 minutes, 1 page, 1 rep. Create a cues, time of day or ritual, and track the result. The cue reduces friction. The tracking creates external constraint that helps the internal system comply. Importantly, the early phase will feel awkward. The neural system prefers old grooves. Expect resistance. That resistance is not a moral indictment. It is the brain's economy, defending habit. Keep repaying the deposit. Another lever is compounding interest. Volume matters. 10 minutes daily composes a far different future than sporadic heroics. The paradox of small acts is not merely arithmetic, it is architectural. Synaptic potentiation requires repetition. Over weeks, the practice moves from conscious effort to automatic competence. Once automatic, actions are made available for higher strategies. Quality replaces quantity. The habit scaffolds the possibility for excellence. Emotion again is decisive. Fear, desire, pride. These states accelerate learning when harnessed constructively. Train the effective system before practice. Evoke the vision of why you do this, not as abstract success, but as a felt scene. Then practice. The neural system now encodes not merely the motor habit, but its motivational matrix. Over time, the effective system will cue action with less volitional friction. Keep attention to feedback loops. Practice without correction calcifies mistakes. Build short feedback cycles, record brief sessions, read critical notes, consult a mentor. The brain learns not only from repetition, but from error correction. The faster the loop, the more efficient the reprogramming. Accountability is social scaffolding. Publicly committing to a standard to one trusted person increases adherence. Social obligations leverage neurochemistry. The system pays attention to social cues because we evolved as communal animals. Use this to your advantage without relinquishing autonomy. Choose witnesses who value craft over applause. Habits can also transmute identity. The person who does the practice consistently will begin to tell stories that align with those actions. Identity language. I am someone who completes what I start, follows practice and further consolidates neural pathways. The feedback is mutual. Action reshapes identity. Identity smooths action. Beware 2 pitfalls. 1. Ritual without direction becomes mere busywork. The habit must feed a practice that refines skill. 2. Impatience kills compounding. If the initial phase seems unrewarding, sustain anyway. compound interest is invisible until maturity. Finally, understand destiny not as fatalism, but as canalization. The repeated choices you make today will narrow the channels through which future probability flows. The neural alchemy of habit is the craft of destiny. You do not simply wait for fate, you sculpt it through disciplined small acts. Reprogramming the brain is less heroic than repetitive. Choose the small acts that align with your belief, practice them with emotional commitment, and let your nervous system become the engine of your future. Imagery is the native language of the deeper mind. We think we lead with reason. In truth, images and metaphors forge the bridges between intention and reality. A clear internal image functions as an attractor in the psyche. It organizes attention, primes motor patterns, and marshals subtle energy toward congruent ends. To effect a quantum shift, you must cultivate an imaginal engine. Vivid scenes held with sustained feeling that act like magnets for circumstance. Begin by distinguishing wish from image. A wish says, "I want that." An image says, "This is what it looks and feels like." The imaginal engine requires sensory detail, sight, sound, kinesthetic quality, and importantly, effect. Picture not just the outcome, fame, wealth, recognition, but the ordinary moment that composes it, the morning routine, the conversation in which you speak with clarity, the small victory that felt like a stepping stone. The specificity gives the image neural fidelity. Rehearsal is the operational method. Mental practice has empirical power. Athletes who visualize performance often improve similarly to those who physically practice. The mind does not care whether the scene was enacted physically, it responds to repeated, emotionally toned simulation. Therefore, rehearse the image daily with the felt sense of accomplishment, not as fantasy but as rehearsal. This primes action and calibrates perception to notice opportunities that resonate with the image. Pair imagery with action. The imaginal engine is not passive daydreaming, it invites behavior. Each day, ask what small act would bring me closer to this inner picture. The image clarifies the next step. Without the image, action becomes scattershot. With it, action is directed. Over time, the pattern of directed small actions aligns external circumstance with the inner scene. Be mindful of the emotional register. The mind prefers congruence. An image that evokes fear will prime avoidance. An image that evokes calm determination will prime resilient action. Learn to cultivate images that carry a sustainable, effective tone, not frenzied desire, but steady conviction. This is not denial of ambition. It is the pragmatic pairing of aspiration with a temperament that supports long work. Another practice is the symbolic condensation. Rather than maintaining a sprawling list of aims, choose a potent symbol that carries multiple meanings for you. An oak tree, a lighthouse, a quiet hearth. Use this as a touchstone in moments of uncertainty. Symbols reduce cognitive load while retaining emotional potency. Imagery also functions socially. Share the image with those you trust. Human beings coordinate into shared realities. When others witness your imaginal scene and accept it, their behaviors can align with yours, providing scaffolding. Caution: choose witnesses who will help refine, not dilute the image. Guard against magical thinking. Images do not replace craft. They organize attention and invite action, but without disciplined practice and accountability, they remain pretty fantasies. The imaginal engine amplifies real work. It does not annul it. Finally, repeat and revise. The image must be durable enough to sustain practice, yet flexible enough to accommodate new information. Update your scenes as your competence grows. The imaginal engine thus becomes both compass and motor. It points and it pushes. Hold the image clearly, feel it fully. Act toward it daily. The inner picture will reconfigure your perception and gradually call the outer world into alignment. Any movement toward new belief will encounter resistance. Resistance is not merely external opposition, it is an internal economy of forces, fear protective of old identity. shame that hides behind competence, doubt that demands proof before commitment. Depth psychology calls much of this the shadow, those disowned parts that operate without conscious consent. The work of change is translation. We do not annihilate resistance. We name it, listen to it, and negotiate a place for it so it can stop undermining action. Begin by recognizing forms of resistance. It appears as procrastination, as rationalizing, as sudden distraction when you need focus most. It masquerades as business and often dresses in moral language. I must be responsible. I cannot take this risk. I should not neglect my family. These voices are real and often carry legitimate concern. The task is to discern when they are protective wisdom and when they are fear in disguise. Naming is the first translation. When you notice the urge to avoid, give it a label. There's the voice that fears public failure. Or, this is the part that learned to hide after ridicule. Naming reduces projection and creates distance. A distance introduces choice. With a short pause, you can decide whether the reluctance is counsel or sabotage. Next, negotiate with the shadow. Instead of brute force, offer trade-offs. I will take this measured risk, and in return I will schedule a repair day if it goes poorly. Or, I will set small public tests rather than a total reveal. This approach reframes resistance from enemy to partner. It preserves the integrity of your inner system by acknowledging its protective function while steering it toward constructive outcomes. Use ritual to relocate energy. When shame surfaces, enact a small ritual of reorientation, write a witness note, take a brief walk, enact a physical posture of readiness. Ritual signals to the autonomic system that you are not being attacked, you are engaging intentionally. The body responds and the shadow softens. Also, practice incremental exposure. The nervous system habituates. Start with low-stakes experiments that provoke only a mild version of the fear. Over time, the threshold for action increases. The shadow learns that risk does not equal annihilation. Habituation is the physiological counterpart to negotiation. Cultivate compassionate curiosity. Many resistances contain useful data patterns of relational wounding, false beliefs instilled by caretakers, or adaptive strategies that once protected you. Rather than shaming the shadow, interrogate its origin. When did this voice begin? What did it protect me from? Understanding reduces its authority. Invite others into translation. A coach, a therapist, or a trusted peer can act as an external interlocutor to the shadow. They can reflect patterns back to you and offer corrective attunement. This network helps prevent private rationalizations from entrenching. Finally, implement structural safeguards. If doubt tends to derail you at 3 weeks, design a protocol that anticipates the DP, a scheduled check-in, a review of early wins, or a small treat that rewards persistence. Anticipation reduces surprise and increases the likelihood of sustained practice. Change is a dialectic, not a single stroke. When belief meets shadow, the conversation can either become a standoff or a dialogue that yields integration. Choose dialogue. Translate the language of fear into a plan, the language of shame into ritual, the language of doubt into measurable experiment. In this way, the shadow ceases to be an unseen saboteur and becomes a calibrated source of wisdom. Meet resistance with curiosity and strategy. Translate the shadow's protection into partnered motion. And the inner field will clear enough for belief to take root. The final move is consecration. Consecration is not superstition. It is the sustained enactment of belief until the world rearranges. It requires ritual, language, habit, and public practice calibrated to maintain alignment between inner conviction and outward life. Consecration is the moral and practical commitment to live as if the belief is already an operative reality. Begin by declaring, not for spectacle but for discipline. Compose a short, clear statement embodying the belief as present tense truth. I am a person who completes meaningful projects. Or, I speak with clarity and my words carry weight. Speak it aloud daily. The act of vocalization engages motor, auditory, and cognitive circuitry simultaneously, reinforcing the new pattern. Next, design practices that make the declaration credible. If your belief is about competence, schedule demonstrable work, publish a small project, lead a meeting, offer one helpful piece of work to someone. If your belief is about peace, schedule practices that cultivate it: daily meditation, a refusal of reactive engagement, an evening routine that protects sleep. The idea is to create congruence so the world receives you not as a claimant, but as evidence. Consecration also implies public footprint. There is a difference between private belief and public enactment. Make a modest, principled announcement to someone who will hold you accountable. The social element is not vanity, it is fidelity. It creates an external scaffold for the inner vow. But beware. The public step should be calibrated to your readiness. Do not stage a spectacle before competence is present. The reveal should contain evidence. Language matters. Reorganize how you speak about yourself and your work. Replace hedging, "I hope to," "I'm trying to," with a measured present tense that indicates ownership. This linguistic reorientation signals commitment and shapes behavior, because the brain prefers consistency between speech and action. Consecration also attends to environment. Align your spaces, schedules, and relationships to the claim. If you say you value deep work, remove the apps, schedule blocks, and cultivate a physical locale conducive to focus. If you claim integrity, simplify obligations so you can consistently keep promises. Environmental congruence reduces cognitive load and supports the enactment. Importantly, consecration accepts maintenance. The ritual of recommitment is not a one-time flair. It is daily practice. Each morning you reconsecrate. Each evening you review fidelity. This daily closing and opening is the forge in which identity hardens into habit. Finally, consecration is humble. It recognizes that while you act as if the belief is true, you remain observant of reality's correction. Consecration is not blind certainty. It is disciplined faith paired with empirical refinement. If evidence suggests revision, revise. If the world confirms, deepen. The consequence of consecration is not immediate omnipotence, but consistent realignment. Practices change, possibilities open. Identity shifts. The outer world begins to coordinate to the inner claim, because social and material structures respond to patterned action. Over time, the match between inner belief and outward reality tightens until the former seems to have manufactured the latter. Consecrate your belief with speech, structure, and practice. Live the assumption faithfully, and slowly the seams of the world will be refastened to the new design. The quantum shift is less an isolated miracle than the logical outcome of dedicated consecration. A quantum shift begins not with spectacle, but with a sustained interior reorientation. Tend the field of your attention, rewire the brain with faithful practice, hold a clear imaginal scene, translate the resistance into allyship, and consecrate the belief through sustained, visible action. Do this and the outer world will follow the architecture you have built within. Believe, practice, consecrate, and watch how reality rearranges itself in obedience to the mind that holds you.